Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're cranking up the time machine to the 1990s, a truly wild decade in the life and career of Nicolas Cage. Strap in, because we'll be covering nearly every year of the 90s and film role Cage took on. From offbeat indie flicks and quirky comedies, to Oscar-winning drama and explosive action heroics, the 90s saw Cage evolve from a cult favorite character actor into one of Hollywood's biggest blockbuster stars. But before we dive in, please like and subscribe for more content. Maybe check out my store tab and the EZ shop. I appreciate your support. This is EZ Reviews, Nicolas Cage in the 1990s. Our journey begins in 1990, when Cage was fresh off some 80s successes and ready to dial up the weirdness. His first notable 90s role was in David Lynch's surreal road trip romance, Wild at Heart. Cage plays Sailor Ripley, a snakeskin jacket-wearing outlaw deeply in love with Laura Dern's character. The film is a bizarre cocktail of violence, dark humor, and Elvis Presley references. Cage even sings Love Me Tender. Despite, or because of, how strange it truly was, Wild at Heart won the Palme d'Or at the 1990 Cannes Film Festival, a decision so controversial that some in the audience booed and jeered at the film's mention.
Wild at Heart, the David Lynch.
Critics were polarized. The movie's offbeat tone and graphic violence divided opinions. It ended up with a modest $14.6 million gross on a $10 million budget and a 66% Rotten Tomatoes score. Mixed reviews overall. Still, many praised Cage's performance as Sailor, the romantic Southern outlaw, brimming with raw emotion. This role showcased Cage's fascination with unconventional, passionate characters. An early hint of the Cagean intensity to come. In the same year, Cage also starred in Firebirds, 1990, an action flick where he plays Apache helicopter pilot Jake Preston. If you've never heard of Firebirds, imagine it as a knockoff of Top Gun, just with helicopters instead of jets. And yes, it's exactly as cheesy as that sounds. The movie pairs Cage with Tommy Lee Jones as Army aviators training to take down a drug cartel. Unfortunately, Firebirds turned out to be a critical misfire. Reviewers panned its melodramatic dialogue and blatant similarities to Top Gun. Audiences didn't flock to it either. It earned only about $14.7 million at the US box office against a hefty $22 million budget. Chalk it up as Cage's early attempt at a mainstream action role that didn't quite take off. Still, one thing was clear in 1990. Whether in a gonzo art house romance or a formulaic action film, Cage was fully committed and not afraid to take risks. Not every year in the 90s was marked by a hit. 1991 brought us one of the more obscure entries in Cage's filmography, Xander. If you haven't seen it, you're not alone. This steamy New Orleans erotic thriller flew largely under the radar, and often straight to video. Cage portrays Johnny Collins, a wild-eyed bohemian painter who seduces his best friend's wife, played by Judge Reinhold and Erica Anderson respectively. The movie tried to be a sultry tragedy, but ended up more of a campy mess. Critics roasted the film, and it sits at a mere 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, though other aggregators show scores like 24%. Let's be honest, we're talking Cage here. And indeed, Cage goes full tilt, sporting a ridiculous mustache, dancing manically, and delivering lines with unhinged fervor. 1992 saw Cage rebound into the mainstream and the skies above Las Vegas, with the romantic comedy Honeymoon in Vegas. Here, Cage plays Jack Singer, a commitment-phobic private eye who finally agrees to marry his girlfriend, Sarah Jessica Parker, in Vegas, only to lose her in a rigged poker game to a suave gambler, James Caan. The movie is a lighthearted caper famous for its sight gags, including a climax where Cage literally skydives with a troupe of Elvis Presley impersonators, the Flying Elvises. Critics found the film breezy and fun. It earned a 65% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, with praise for its screwball comedy vibe. Cage even nabbed a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a comedy musical for this role, affirming that he had solid comedic chops. At the box office, Honeymoon in Vegas hit the jackpot. It opened at number 1 and stayed in the top 10 for 5 weeks. The film grossed about $35 million in North America, a respectable sum above its $25 million budget, making it a moderate hit. Audiences enjoyed Cage's neurotic yet endearing turn as a man desperate to win back his love. The movie's tone was far less edgy than Cage's 1990 forays, showing he could anchor a crowd-pleasing comedy. Little did everyone know that just a few years later, he'd be back in Vegas for a much darker role. But we'll get to that. For now, 1992 proved that Nicolas Cage could do charming and goofy just as well as crazy and intense, broadening his public persona. 1993 was a busy year for Cage, highlighting the range of his projects, from buddy comedy to noir thriller to one of the most bonkers performances of his career. Let's break it down. Amos and Andrew, 1993. In this offbeat buddy action comedy, Cage teamed up with Samuel L. Jackson. Cage plays Amos Odell, a petty crook roped into a farcical hostage scheme, while Jackson is a successful black playwright mistaken for a burglar in his own home. The film attempted social satire about race relations, but its tone was chaotic at best. Critics gave Amos and Andrew generally negative reviews, finding its humor clumsy. It holds a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't click with audiences either, grossing under $10 million domestically, a box office failure. Despite the dud, Cage's hapless con man shtick delivered a few laughs, and his chemistry with Jackson hinted at what fun he could have in buddy pairings. Still, this one is mostly remembered, when it's remembered at all, as a 90s misfire. Enter Red Rock West, 1993. Now here's a 1993 film that went the opposite direction, from failure to cult favorite. Red Rock West is a stylish neo-noir thriller in which Cage plays Michael Williams, a down-on-his-luck drifter mistaken for a hitman in a rural Wyoming town. This taut, twisty film didn't get a proper theatrical release at first. It struggled to find a distributor, but it wowed critics who saw it. In fact, hailed as a hidden neo-noir gem, Red Rock West now holds a stellar 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Cage's performance as an ordinary guy caught in an extraordinary crime web earned praise for its everyman appeal and sly humor. Eventually, the film got a limited release, but it flopped at the box office, only about $2.5 million gross, largely due to poor marketing. However, thanks to cable and home video, Red Rock West built up a following. It's often cited as an underappreciated classic, and an example of Cage's ability to dial down into a subtle, suspenseful role. If you're looking for a 90s Cage film that many people missed but is absolutely worth checking out, this is the one. Last and certainly craziest, we arrive at Deadfall. Picture Nicolas Cage unleashed without restraint, in a film directed by his own brother, Christopher Coppola, and you get the idea. Cage isn't the lead here, but he steals the show in a supporting role as Eddie, a coked-up, psychotic con artist with a thing for shouting absurd dialogue. Deadfall is a sloppy noir about a con gone wrong. It sank like a stone in theaters, earning a laughable $18,369 total. But the film has since achieved a bizarre kind of fame purely for Cage's so bad it's good performance. So, how insane is he in this, you ask? Well, Cage's character screams almost every line, he turns the F-word into a musical instrument, wears outlandish sunglasses, does random karate moves, and basically behaves as if from another planet. It's the kind of gonzo acting that later fueled countless YouTube compilations of Cage freakouts. Critics understandably trashed the movie, Some aggregators show scores as low as 0% or 19%. But Cage's transcendently insane turn has amassed a cult following. In retrospect, Deadfall is a fascinating nugget in Cage's 90s saga. Proof that even when the project was a turkey, he remained compulsively watchable. Cage himself has jokingly acknowledged how over the top he went here, and he even reprised Eddie decades later in an unrelated 2017 movie, Arsenal, as if embracing the legend of this wacky role. If the 1990s were about building the mythology of Cage as a fearless performer, Deadfall is a notorious chapter in that mythos. By the end of 1993, Cage had experienced highs and lows. He wasn't a household name yet, but among film buffs, he was developing a rep as that unpredictable actor who might one day be great. Or at least go out in a blaze of glory. Little did we know, greatness was just around the corner. But first, 1994 brought a turn toward lighter fare for Cage, as well as one infamous holiday dud. This year demonstrated his increasing bankability in feel-good movies, even as one comedy tanked. First up, Guarding Tess, 1994. A comedy drama where Cage played a straight-laced Secret Service agent assigned to protect a feisty former First Lady, played by Shirley MacLaine. This odd couple story allowed Cage to tone it down and play the normal guy to MacLaine's imperious VIP. The comic tension between them was the selling point, and Cage showed a charming, exasperated side as he sparred with MacLaine's character. Guarding Tess received mixed reviews, 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. Some critics found it derivative of films like Driving Miss Daisy or The Bodyguard, but most agreed Cage and MacLaine's chemistry made it enjoyable. The film did modest business, grossing $27.1 million worldwide on a $20 million budget. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it kept Cage in the public eye as a dependable lead. Cage followed that with It Could Happen to You, 1994, a romantic comedy drama that became one of his sweetest roles. He portrays Charlie Lang, an impossibly good-hearted New York cop who makes a deal with a waitress, Bridget Fonda, to split his lottery ticket winnings as a tip. Lo and behold, he wins $4 million and actually honors the promise, to the outrage of his materialistic wife, Rosie Perez. This kind-hearted film, inspired by a real story, struck a chord with audiences. Critics responded positively too. It holds a 73% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert even noted it as a feel-good movie, done right. At the box office, it earned about $47.7 million worldwide on a $20 million budget, though some sources list $37.9 million, making it a solid success. Cage's performance as a lovable everyday hero helped cement his growing mainstream appeal. After this film and Honeymoon in Vegas, the public knew Cage could play the romantic good guy in addition to the edgy oddball. Also, if you're ever in need of a wholesome Cage film to brighten your day, It Could Happen to You is a safe bet. It's Cage at his most endearingly normal. And then, there was Trapped in Paradise. Consider this the lump of coal in Cage's 1994 stocking. Trapped in Paradise is a holiday crime comedy, where Cage, along with comedy actors John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, plays one of three bungling brothers who rob a small-town bank on Christmas Eve and then get stuck in the snowbound town. Despite the talent involved, the film's tone veers from sentimental to slapstick, and not in a good way. Critics absolutely savaged it, a dismal 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a consensus that the movie was borderline unwatchable. Ouch. Not surprisingly, it bombed in theaters, grossing only about $8 million total. IMDb lists $6 million US. The only thing Trapped in Paradise really trapped was Cage, in a script full of corny gags that fell flat. That said, there's some so bad it's funny enjoyment to be had from watching Cage do an exaggerated honorable thief routine, while Carvey and Lovitz clown around. Cage later admitted the film didn't work, blaming its troubles on last-minute script changes and a chaotic production. Chalk it up as a learning experience. Every big actor has a flop or two, and this snowy misadventure was Cage's detour before hitting his stride again. By the end of 1994, Nicolas Cage had proven himself as a versatile comedic lead, but he hadn't yet dominated the box office. That all was about to change, though. The stage was set for a dramatic turn in 1995 that would elevate Cage from likable actor to Academy Award winner. 1995 turned out to be the year Nicolas Cage went from cult favorite to bona fide critically acclaimed star. It was a tale of two films. One, an indie drama that earned him every major accolade, and the other, a signal of his next direction in action. First and foremost, please like, subscribe, and maybe hit that notification bell. Let me know in the comments which film from the first part of the 90s is your favorite. That'll do it for part 1, but be sure to keep an eye out for part 2, 1995 to 1999. I'll see you next time.